Cool, I found it. So, hey everybody. I'm getting ready to use this. This is not a normal camera I use. It is fairly distant to one I own, or however I should be putting that. So, this is just a test run. I kind of want to see how the audio is, what I'm going to have to clean up tomorrow with it. So what I'm going to do is give you just a real quick rundown of some of my favorite horror movies. Because it is October. It is the 21st, 10 days till Halloween. Figure I should mention some of them. There is no period limit on any of these movies. There's just too many good ones out there to limit myself to one or two periods. I tend to like them more based on the mood I'm in than anything else to do with that. And I've seen a lot. I mean, I've probably seen 40 or 50 of them in 21 days. So, honestly, number 10 is going to go and be the original Frankenstein from the God, my brain froze. It's going to be the original Frankenstein from the old 30s and 40s Universal monster movie family. It's good old black and white fun. It's an entertaining movie. I like a lot of people, I'm not doing a full length review, mainly because I can't do it justice. And honestly, this is just a quick test, see how this is going to work for something I'm doing in the future. Number 9 is the original Mummy. For those of you who don't know, the Mummy that has Brendan Fraser in it is a remake. It's not a bad movie, but it's a remake. But the original is a lot better. Again, that's one of the Universal horror movie ones. I haven't looked into too much of the history on it. Again, this isn't a full review. It's just a countdown. Watch it. It's really good. It's quiet, and it really didn't have any independent source material prior to it. Unlike, Dracula, which had Bram Stoker, and Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley. Which leads me to number 8. Dracula. Keep in mind, I do like these movies. However, not with how short they are. There's not a lot to them. They are just long enough. It's good. It's dripping with atmosphere, and it's quiet. But it is a movie I have to be in the right mood to go and sit down and watch. Otherwise, it's just gonna be, It's gonna be meh. So yeah, that's 7. So, number 6 on the list is going to be the original Friday the 13th. Yeah, it's a slasher movie and it's a horror movie, but like I said, I wasn't limiting it at all. These are just movies I personally enjoy as horror movies. There's a lot of suspense and campy fun to it. And unlike a lot of future slasher flicks, especially modern ones and ones that have come out in the last 15, 20 years, the people that are getting killed aren't total complete assholes. They're just kids. You kind of want to see them survive. And you feel bad that they're being murdered, that was my phone, for something that they had nothing to do with. They happened to be counselors at a lake where just a angry, psychotic, grieving mother is going on a rampage. She lost a son, and while I don't have kids, I do have a lot of nieces, nephews, and little cousins, and I don't know how differently people would react if a kid died because the people in charge of taking care of him were screwing. It's a really good, solid movie with a lot of characters. If for some reason and somehow you haven't seen it, it's a really good movie with, actually three solid sequels behind it. That's another one of those movies that was designed to be more of an anthology, just like Halloween was. We all know what happened with that. John Carpenter's Halloween is going to go ahead and be number 5 on this list. Why? It's a slasher movie. It was really fun. The thing that knocked it down, unfortunately, further down this list, while it was a great thing to do in horror, just like a lot of its predecessors with the black and white Universal monsters, it let itself get carried too far away. And while I do appreciate how corny it got, the first 2 were great. 3 was phenomenally different, and I think took too much shit. Again, people were mad. Oh, well, Michael Myers, who gives a fuck what they're, who cares what the, who gives 2 flying shits what the creator intended? As for Friday the 13th, it got a series eventually, which I didn't follow. I kind of wish Halloween would have gotten the same treatment, or corrected treatment. Again, that was remade. And I'll honorably mention sort of the new one. Actually, no, I won't. I'm just fucking with you. No. It's an okay movie. It's just a modern slasher movie. It's not really too spectacular. If you want to see reviews of that, I know Phalos has reviewed it. And there's other people out there, I'm sure. It was okay. It shouldn't have had a sequel. But I'll get into that later. I know a different video far down the line. Maybe closer to Halloween, I'll do another one. And, that's... number 4, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, and it's going to be tied. As I mentioned, John Carpenter's Halloween was really good. It had tone, it had good acting in it, and from top to bottom, it was fantastic. Even though it wasn't meant to have a direct sequel, this sequel worked really well. And it led right into 2, which picked up right after 1 did, without having to use too much stock footage. And honestly, it's an enjoyable film. Anything you hear if you hear what's going on in the background, or what you see in the background, come here, Bumpers. Get over here. Give me that pig. Give me the pig. That's my boxer running around who just went and found his stuffed pig. Sorry for the sidetrack there. ADHD is fun, not fun. The musical scores in these are all fantastic, and that's a big reason why a lot of these are on here. Number 3, House of Dracula. Yeah, it's a little bit newer than some of them. House of Dracula starts out with, Dracula coming to the home of a doctor, a very good doctor, who is trying to use spores from a mold to go and cure diseases around the world. As he's going through, he starts at the halfway mark figuring out Dracula isn't necessarily trying to get exactly what he said he was after, because Dracula goes to him begging for a cure to the curse of immortality, which, while a lot of people go and think immortality would be nifty, not having to die and all, people do tend to overlook the negative aspects of immortality, I think. And one of those big ones is you lose everything. You can tend to lose everything and everyone you care about. Time is not exactly a friendly thing to people. And I think it was rather a neat direction to take Dracula, showing him, hey, I'm bored with living. I don't really want to be living anymore. Can you help me end my suffering? Because, to him, he's suffering. And along the same note, you get the Wolfman. the Wolfman comes in his human form, and you're introduced to that. You're introduced to him coming in looking for the same doctor's help, but he's already in a meeting with Frankenstein, or not Frankenstein, in with Dracula. Although you do see the Frankenstein, you do see the monster of Frankenstein in this, so which is neat. You get all three of them in the same movie, although not fighting. It's just really well done. They make Dracula cunning and dark and mysterious and evil, which is what Dracula should be. I'm not going to give too much away, just saying that, well, Doctor figures it out. He sends a nurse to go and open the coffin after Dracula is already back in his body. And showing that, hey, being a vampire is actually more of a disease than it is a curse. And the doctor did start legitimately trying to wow. This is why it's a test. He does figure out that there may be a way to cure vampirism. During one of the last transfusions, before Dracula's intent's found out, before he can go and try to take another victim, he reverses the flow. He goes and stops it and reverses the flow, putting his own blood into the good doctor. Eventually, the doctor goes and takes over. The doctor's taken over by the remains of Dracula, well after Dracula's body has been torched by sunlight, leaving him as just a skeleton inside of a coffin. I'm not going to spoil any more than that. Again, it's a really good movie, and I highly recommend it. It's not that long. It's only a bit over an hour, which is, going to be hopefully twice as long as this. So, number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Yeah, it's another slasher one, but it's the original one. The original one tended to do something that's a little different. Horror movies are supposed to go and work on your fears. This takes that and just goes so much further with that premise. And he's literally playing with your fears in your own head. And a little beyond that, he's actually going and messing with stuff you kind of enjoy. With Johnny Depp scene, which, yeah, it introduced Johnny Depp. So you can either curse or thank the movie for that. It really depends on, I think, what he's in at this point. There is the waterbed scene where the guy... There's 2 murder scenes in the franchise that take place with the blood. The blood geyser scene is, I think, pretty funny. It's a really stupid scene with the blood geyser in that bed. And Robert Englund is a lot of fun. It's not a perfect film. It's aged pretty well, with the exception of where his arms are all extended out, where you can tell there's strings there. I watched it recently and I spotted them almost immediately and then I saw somebody's review of it and they pointed out. I'm like, watching a digital remastering of it doesn't always help movies. I would mention one that I know for a fact it doesn't help, but the last time I brought that up, people spent 6 months bitching about my commentary on it. But it was a great movie in its time. It still holds up well today, and it's a fun story. Yeah. So, and the number 1 horror movie for me personally, was one I hadn't seen for a while until recently. Don't mess with my camera stand, or you're gonna break it, and I'll be pissed. Good pumpers. See, just one of these pretty face on camera. Good boy. I got my pumpers. Wee. No, settle. I'm gonna have to make sure that he's off sleeping or something next time I do one of these. I'm not gonna edit any of this out. Wow. Can't be I'm trying to figure out why there's such a short timer for these. If it's going to eat up my memory card, which is a 32 gigabyte memory, 32 gigabyte SD card. Anyhow, back to number one. I saw it I saw the first couple days into the month of October, and that's why I decided to watch some classic horror movies that I hadn't seen in years. And this one for me, this is a sequel, actually. This is a sci-fi action horror movie. It's Predator 2, starring Danny Glover. He's really good in it. It's taking place at a time, well, it went from the one jungle in the Schwarzenegger Predator movie to L.A., which in this one is undergoing gang warfare against the LAPD and huge issues with drug gangs and all sorts of violence and a lot of blood squibs. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but it's a good movie. The action is handled well, and just a lot of the music and shots and soundtrack are fantastic. This is not a well-rated movie. When I looked it up a while ago, it had like maybe 1.5, maybe 2.5 stars at the most, unfortunately. Which is what happens with sequels. It's an action movie. It's not the best written thing in the world. But I'll tell you this, Gary Busey's in it, and it's either Gary Busey or Nick Nolte, I can't remember, but it's a fantastic performance. Of course, I want to go and actually want to use my phone for something. It says "fuck you" and decides the screen doesn't want to come on right now. But yeah, it's a good movie. It ends well. They do show you that, yeah, the predator showing up in the jungle, not a one-time thing. That species has been here. Either they've stayed there for just a long, long time, which, you know, somebody told me is what it was, but the fact that the ship takes off at the end and there seemed to be a lot of fairly new stuff nearby, it points to no. They just happen to collect stuff, and you can see how many trips to the Earth that they've made to hunt people down. They've fought pirates, they've fought American revolutionaries, they've fought, people in the Old West, and it's amazing. You get to see Danny Glover actually kill a predator with his bare hands. And that's something not even Schwarzenegger and Jesse the Body Ventura could do combined. Or the guy that played Apollo Creed. I can never remember his name. I feel terrible about that. You got three guys that are known for being in action movies. Three big, strong guys, couldn't take him out. But the guy who's too old for shit is the one who is able to take him down. There's some pretty goofy moments in the way they handle stuff. But it does a good job. And yeah, they actually go and keep it in continuity with the first one. Because there's a character tells him what it is. And he explains to him, it's, this thing's going and moving around similar to what happened in the jungle X amount of years ago. That had a blast that got covered up. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, see it. I don't know if it's been playing on Showtime or HBO. I'm sure you can find it online someplace, or in a used DVD store or on VHS somewhere. I'm sure you got to know somebody who's seen it. But that's it. It doesn't really fit in. It's not it didn't really pioneer anything. To me, that was just a good movie. I don't know how many people are going to bother watching this, or if I upload it. It is just something I've done for fun and a test, and shit, it's way longer than I intended it to be. So I hope everybody has a fun and wonderful Halloween. We got 10 days. I may make another one. I may not. But bye for now.